Hey, Mirror! We are live. Hi, Katana.
All right, we got things going on, people. We're getting ready to do a thing. You know the thing we do every now and then? I will not be playing around with a thermal death box like I was last Wednesday, which was fun. That was fun. Everybody showed up for that. But we're back for weekly Daily Wednesdays. What do we got for you this afternoon, this evening? We're going to be bringing up those Intel cards right at the beginning. I got a couple of words to say about that, but we got Red Hat making some NVIDIA drivers on the theme of GPUs. And speaking of themes, something happened with a KDE theme. I think we need to give that a mention. Canonical might, 5 months later, fix their problem with snaps after some meetings. And I'm going to tell you my experiences with one in HP1, which is a jumbled mess of letters and numbers, but I'm like Noctua, and you're like, oh yeah, they have horrible naming. Of course they do, they're Noctua. What I did with their silent cooling solution. Hey everybody. How we doing? Middle of the week? Getting everything together? We got shapes in chat. That seems legit. What do I got to get out right now? I got to stick together. First, I got to get to Blue Sky. Every time I try to go to Blue Sky, everybody, I go to bluesky.app. When it's not, it's bsky.app. B-S-K-Y.
Yeah, B-S-K-Y, yeah.
Somebody already has the domain bluesky.app, which I'm like, come on, man. Why you got to be like that? Getting that together. How you doing, Jill? What's up? You're back.
Yeah, I am. I have a lot to talk about Scale. It was a very exciting one. They all are exciting, but this year was particularly special. Aw, yeah, Katana. It was so great. Seeing you again, I get to see Katana every year at Scale.
There we go. We got all that put together. Katana's playing around with his Epic CPU. I saw him talking about that in Discord, and I saw that Intermax AIO on there, man. Have they fixed their gunking problem? Which is one of the things I was curious about. I don't know if you got back to me on an answer for that, which I hope they did. The original Intermax Threadripper coolers, I think Gamers Nexus did like a 2-part thing on them. They just clogged up. They did. They had bad metallurgy going on inside of them, and so the microfins got just jammed up, and they wouldn't cool, and people's CPUs were overheating and throttling, and I don't know. And the biggest thing is they were trying to fight customers. You know, they were coming back going, hey man, this isn't working. They're like, well, it's not our problem. I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. So hopefully they've gotten that fixed. I almost bought one. That's why I kind of did a little bit of research on them way back in the day. We're talking Gen 1 Threadrippers and all of that. Okay, let's check. Do I have that up? We go, and how are we? Wait, there we go. I don't need that open. All right. So I got all that. We got a big show, so we're about to get underway, everybody.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Bitrate's good. Bitrate's good, yeah. All right. We had some signal weirdness on Monday, but it cleared up. There's always that weird time if you ever have any issues with your download or upload. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to wait a couple hours. You just wait a couple hours. Don't immediately call anybody because it's usually just a waste of time and things get fixed, right? And you don't want to be the person that reports a problem. They come out, they roll some trucks, and then it's fixed by the time they get there. You got a Gen 2 Epic? Yeah, I was looking at like some of the Gen 2 Epics. I might get like the 7003 Epic. I made up my mind. I'm waiting for that like price cliff fall on Gen 2s are really cheap right now though, dude. If you can get like a 7002 motherboard and you don't mind like the RAM speed on that, like for your application for a NAS, it's brilliant value right now. Because you can get a 7002 motherboard for cheap too. 7282. Katana's like, here, you Google that. By the way, Epic has some of the worst names. What do we got on 7282? I know this page. Ah, man, 16 core, 32 thread, 64 megs, base clock, 120 watt TDP. That's not bad. Oh, man, these things were even like, I bet you got that thing like wicked cheap. Yeah, that's the thing with like the 7000 because you can do the 3200 on Epic 7003, but you get 8-channel memory with that guy and PCI Express 4.0, 128 lanes, ladies and gentlemen, which is the important thing. I've searched low, high, up, down, sideways. Might have even searched backwards a little bit, but nobody makes a motherboard right now. Socket AM5 or AM4 for the best I can tell, with a by 16, which by 16 by 16, and a by 8 and a by 4. It just doesn't exist. Nobody wants to make it.
Yeah.
Drives me up the wall. I'm like,
I bet.
I have no love for Threadripper. I have no love for Epic. I don't look at this stuff like, yeah, that'll be fun to play with. I'd much rather build an AM5 system, but I have the quad encoder requires by 8 PCI Express 3.0. The other one requires it's PCI 4, PCI 2.0 by 4, and then we got a video card. Like that is as small as I can get the system. Then we got a fiber card to contend with on top of that. But there's ways around that. I'd be willing to go back to, but I have made all the compromises and it just doesn't work. It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you get to play around with IMPI, all the other fun stuff. What manufacturer motherboard did you end up getting? NAS application. Yeah, dude, great value for
Hi,
NAS.
Darren.
ASRock? All right.
Yeah, ASRock is great. What I like is they have their high-end motherboards, but they also have lower end and middle of the road motherboards, but they have all the ports on them. They have everything you want from a really, one that's a lot more expensive into their, standard board, which is really nice. Like Wi-Fi and all that stuff, Bluetooth.
Hate all that stuff. I hate seeing all that stuff, man. I'm like, get rid of it. Rip it out. I don't want to see antennas on the back of my motherboard, man. Come on.
Oh, that's a nice motherboard. Katana. I have a couple of their mini ITX boards that I really like.
Yeah, you did get one of those tiny little boards, didn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, relatively tiny. It's like, that's roughly full-size ATX, but micro ATX, Epic. Yeah, right on. You get 4x16. You only get 3 RAM holes on each side to the total.
Oh, yeah, the blinkies. The AIO, yeah. So many of the new motherboards have that. I've got it on one on my Asus boards too. They have all the blinkies, and I usually ended up like on this my system I'm using right now. This pink one over here. Uh, that one, I actually turned the power supply off so I don't see the motherboard lights.
Mm.
They're really cool. They're like gamery, they're like computer circuits. But I don't need it sitting there, eking out electricity.
I don't really mind. I don't keep my desktop PCs anywhere where I can see them, so it really doesn't matter that much. But yeah, with like the AIOs, I'm down to one, thankfully. Yeah, I just didn't plug it in.
Yeah.
Because it had like the adapter to light it up, and I'm like,
nah.
put some tape around that and just could have shoved it back there with everything else. And I'm like, okay, we don't need that. Bluetooth built into motherboard. It's great if it works.
Yeah.
I prefer dongles for no other reason than like sometimes it don't work. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to get a dongle that I know that works. Clunk.
Sometimes they have issues with the Wi-Fi signal because they put the antennas, like the chips in the same area. So if you're using Wi-Fi, it sometimes cancels the Bluetooth and vice versa.
I got my keyboard dongle and my Bluetooth dongle. I used to keep them on the front of the case. Well, I got something on the front of the case. I don't know what it is. It's Bluetooth. It's one of the two. And I know it's definitely for the mouse. Because I had to. There's just enough distance to where it works in its place. But if I'm doing a stream where I need the desktop here, I'm doing a top-down stream, I got to move the mouse and keyboard over here, and that's too far away. So I had to move that dongle up front. I just never put it back. But like with game controllers and stuff like that, I've never really had a problem. Never had a problem. But I mean, Bluetooth is a terribly mysterious thing because let's talk about game controllers. There's been times where I had to sit here 2 or 3 times to just wait for it to like figure stuff out. And there's been other times where I've been halfway across the house.
Yeah.
Charging this PlayStation controller because that's where I have one of the mini USB type it takes. It's a PS4 controller. It doesn't have the USB-C. It's got the older one on it. And I still have one of those cables plugged in to the charge controller on the little breakfast nook. And I've cut this thing on and it's connected halfway across the house. So you never know. It works when it wants to work. That's just kind of how you rock and roll with it. All right. Well, I'm locked and loaded and wired up.
Okay. I think I'll take a quick break.
All right.
I realize I'm going to have to put my hat back on again.
Well, I mean, you didn't spend any time getting it adjusted, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking a little bit about that in the pre-show. I got it working with Handbrake. Give you an idea of getting that up and running was getting an Intel Arc card working correctly with AV1 and Handbrake logically and realistically involves flat packs. How about that for a mystery to think about? How about that? Yeah. I got some numbers up. Give you an idea though, because let's AV1 encoding, right? You want to speed up your AV1 encoding. So I'll just go ahead and if you listen to the live show, I'll give you a little sneak peek here. So I took a 5-minute clip out of Linux Gamecast, which is 1080p 60 H.265 HEVC, and I encoded that to a 1080p 60 AV1 using the 5600G, using the CPU and Handbrake. That 5-minute clip took 16 minutes and 14 seconds. Using the AV1 encoder on the Arc A310, that exact process took 49 seconds. Think about that. Pretty wild, isn't it? Pretty wild, isn't it? There are some issues there's some surprising issues that there's some things that I was floored by that haven't been resolved, but we're going to put all that together. I might have that done. I don't want to say I'm going to have that done by the end of this week, but we'll see. But what did I do? I'll give you an idea though. It's not a gaming card. It's an A310, but if I don't have gaming benchmarks in there, people are like, rah! I just didn't want to deal with that. So I did, I didn't do 1080p. I stuck with 720p because I wanted to do A/B comparison with the integrated graphics in the 5600G. So we did 720p on the A310 with superposition, Furmark, Talos Principle, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And just because I wanted to hurt it a little bit, Cyberpunk. I got some number digits for that. Oh, no, man. What you want to avoid is, you see the YouTube, definitely seen the YouTube comments of somebody who be like, oh, could you just go back real quick and test this and this and that? The answer to that always is no. And that's not just me saying that. That's saying that to anybody. It's like the work that goes into like shooting and like doing that. No Quake 2. Quake 2 RTX. You think this thing can trace array? But Arthur, and you're right. I mean, it's an encoding card. Like, nobody buys this for gaming performance. Like, the idea of like it even having a display port or video out on the back, I'm like, why? Why would you do that? What's the point of that? The A310 is effectively a laptop part. It trades blows with integrated graphics. Kind of give you that idea. Oh, Katana, you were talking about what I posted in Discord. No, baby, that wasn't that. That was OBS at a 6,000 bit rate. That is showing you the difference between X264 VAPI and AV1 at the same bit rate, which is like 6K bit rate in a high motion scene from Talos Principle. Big difference. Oh, that wasn't done with 3060. That was done with the 5600J. Yeah, where I think I'm going to talk more about this, and if you watched the live stream for that, you know about the engineering oopsie. And I think I've uncovered that a little bit. Because I went back and, because remember we were like watching the videos, right? For like the 2 videos that we found for this card. And neither of them brought it up. And we're like, how could you not bring that up? But in the ETA Prime one, what I think happened is they got like review samples. And the review samples was marketed as it was only a low profile card. It was like a last minute thing to throw in the full size bracket. Which makes it more confusing because it shipped with a full-size bracket on it. Right? That's going to be the big thing. And of course, immediately voiding the warranty. But hey, we got to pull off a heat spreader. Yeah, I don't know. It's like engineers versus some executives like, no, we're going to include that. And everybody's like, dude, okay. No, we'll find out. Let's see. Let me go top my drink off, Jill, and we'll hop into it.
Sounds good. Okay. Just gotta get my hat straight. It's hard when you're wearing headphones. Okay. I think it's pretty good now. Yeah, Katana, I think Ven was just going to use it for encoding. Mhm. Thank you, Boo. He says my hat is centered. I'm sorry, I'm quiet. Putting in a last minute thing here. Show notes. I have a ton. I've got over a page on scale. And I was just making some changes. I could do a whole episode just on scale, so. Especially since I have 3 communities. I could do a episode on each one. I keep, darn it. Yeah. Okay, I think I got it straight again. It was falling off, unfortunately. And I can't have that falling off during the show. Yeah, it's so hard to do when you have to see everything backwards. Oh, God. Doing this well today. There we go. Okay. Heck. Button for punishment here. I think that's pretty straight. Yep, lots of skill stuff is coming in the future. Then cut off my hat. Yeah, duct tape it. Yeah. Gaffer's tape. Blue tape.
Painter's tape.
Yeah.
All right. Let's rock and roll. Let's go ahead and knock this out.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get on the right show now.
Okay. I was telling everyone in chat my skill review is a page long. As it always is, but I think this year it's even longer.
Oh, it's easy. I said I didn't do anything in post. I'm like, Joe, did you have a good time at skill? Yes. Then we'll just jump right to the next story. All right, let's do it, everybody. Hey everyone, welcome back to Linux Weekly, daily Wednesdays where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, talk about some of the fun things going on in the world of Linux and open source. I'm Vin Stone, joined every week by Joe Bryant. Everybody watching us live on Twitch, come check out a live show if you get a chance or not. Whatever, I'm not your boss, but we got a bunch of stuff to talk to you about this week. Jill's been missing in action for the past 2 weeks. Why? She's been driving around, moving people, shuffling them, all because of a little thing that goes on every year called Scale. And you got quite a report for us about your adventures at Scale 21X this year.
So the Southern California Linux Expo, as Ven said, Scale 21X. It was really an amazing event this year. And what was cool is we were back to pre-pandemic numbers of attendance. And that was really good because the last few years, of course, it's been a little low because people have been nervous about coming out in the midst of COVID. So, but now we're back to our usual numbers before the pre-pandemic, and there's still were people wearing masks, which is a good thing. I usually do when I was going to talks, but I only went to one talk and I forgot to put it on. But the keynote talks, the last few years I've worn my mask. So, anyways, some of the highlights include, and Ven is going to actually show pictures. So watch the video version. There were so many pictures. I took hundreds, and I have literally thousands of pictures. I've got an album with tons of pictures that everyone took. So some of the highlights were I got to see Atomic, our longtime patron in our Discord chat once again. He hadn't been to Scale since the pandemic, so it was wonderful catching up with him. And we had a fun LGC gathering at Strider's house, creator of Lutris, before Scale. And Strider, me and my Steve husband, and Empty in chat and Atomic, we had a wonderful visit. Also, it was always wonderful having our friend Empty come to town for Scale, picking him up at the airport and having several meals together and good conversation. And seeing Katana in chat is always wonderful every year, and I usually get to see one or two of his sons. And Glorious Egg Roll, again, helping Strider and Empty at the Lutris booth. I also ran into Matt Hartley, who I interviewed, and Chris and the Jupiter Broadcasting crew. And the pictures that just went by were of me and Monica Ains Madden. We had a wonderful afternoon tea, sandwiches, and scones together at the Tea Rose Garden in Pasadena before the craziness of Scale and setting up our booths together. She was working at the Mozilla Thunderbird booth. And also another wonderful thing is having the Destination Linux booth next to the Linux Chick-fil-A booth and Lutris booths was wonderful. And of course I planned it that way. So that was wonderful. Oh, and there's Empty and Glorious Egg Roll. And also getting to meet Nova the Canadian for the first time, our patron in Discord chat, who also, he won a mini Lenovo ThinkCentre PC from our Linux Chick-fil-A booth raffle. And that was awesome. And also, John Mad Dog Hall came by again to visit us at the Linux Chick-fil-A booth, and he got to spin our Linux Chick-fil-A Wheel O Swag and win a cool penguin surprise. He also wanted more Linux Chick-fil-A stickers for his laptop, and he had contacted me on Facebook. And I said, of course, come by, Mad Dog. We'll give you as much as you want and as many goodies as you like. And he really enjoyed that. In fact, here's the picture of him spinning the wheel. That was such a great time. And that was, he's an amazing person. And last year he came by our booth to tell us a very special story about how he helped the Linux Chicks in our early years. And then finally getting to meet Martin Wimpress, otherwise known as Wimpy, in IRL after all these years. I've talked to him on podcasts for many years, of course, in our first episodes of our Trackmania streams. He was a joy to visit with, and we gave each other lots of hugs. And he gifted me a NixOS Pog coin and said, "This is for people who do good in open source." And I was so honored. That was just a special gift. I became very verklempt when he gave this to me. He only gave it to certain people at the conference. And he also gave me this first annual at the Southern California Linux Expo NixCon NixOS t-shirt that I'm wearing now, because that was the first annual. And unfortunately, I didn't get to attend it, of course, because I'm too busy in the expo hall and at Two Booze and working scale. So Wimpy was just so gracious. He came by several times with loot from NixCon, and I told him I will be watching it on YouTube, because Scale records every room all day long, everything that's happening, so you can go back and see all the hundreds of talks that you wanted to see. So that's, for me, Scale continues another month after Scale. Just watching all the speakers talk on their YouTube channel. And I also got to interview someone very special. He's one of the greats in Linux, and a very special person who was pivotal in Linux's adoption. And that interview will be coming soon on my other podcast I do, Destination Linux. I didn't want to say who it was yet, because it's a very important person. And I was freaking out when I interviewed him. Yeah. So anyways, just there's so much. I was telling everyone in chat I could do a whole LWW just on Scale.
Glad you had a fun time, and everybody gets together, and I assume they're going to do one next year.
Oh yes,
just maybe there might be a possibility of it. So
22X is coming. In fact, already making plans for 22X.
Keep that in mind. There'll be a link in the show notes for all those pictures if you want to go back and take a look at them. Now,
Yay.
One of the things I've been playing around with, Arthurian picked this up off the wishes. There's a long story behind that. Go back and watch, I think, week before last on Linux Gamecast if you want the details on it. But this is an Arc A310. This is a little eco version that they've released that doesn't require external power. It's a 50-watt cart. Kind of interesting. Been getting a lot of questions answered. I did a live stream last week, if you missed it, where I stuck this thing in rectangle, that little thermal note box, just to see if we could make it scream and scream. It did. But we want to test out the AV1 transcoding. And of course, might as well try to get it to play a couple of games. So I got that video in the pipeline for everybody. But that's enough of the pre-show. Let's get into it officially with a Red Hat announcement that kind of caught people off guard, including myself. They're like, hey, you're going to be making NVIDIA drivers now? Interesting.
Yeah, this is very interesting. So Red Hat announced something really cool coming down the graphics pipeline, a new replacement for Nouveau, which is called Nova. And Nova is an open source Rust-based GPU system processor driver for NVIDIA GPUs. And Nova is going to be actually easier for them to maintain, a lot more simple and more memory efficient. Also, with the Linux kernel getting more and more Rust code these days, Red Hat thought it would be in their best interest to develop the Nova driver in Rust, which could make it a lot more attractive to developers and easier to work on. And, honestly, the key item here is this actually should help tremendously in making an open source graphics driver for NVIDIA cards so you can game on Linux without needing the proprietary NVIDIA drivers installed. We've been wanting to get to that point, like we have with the open source AMD Mesa drivers. So this is really, really cool. There were some reasons behind it, which Ven is going to tell you about. But I think writing it in Rust is a good idea. Definitely.
That's one way to do it. Now, I want everybody to keep in mind, this is going to be GSP only. What's GSP? You never heard about it. Well, that's the firmware that NVIDIA has released. And you're not going to be able to do it with your antique NVIDIA GPUs. It's only going to play your 20, 30, 40, and 50 series cards whenever those things show up. But it is the successor to Nouveau. And we talked about, I don't know if it's on this show, we definitely talked about it on Linux Gamecast, where the developer, the Nouveau, has just been a reverse engineering effort. It's amazing that it worked as well as it did, which is saying not very well, but it was good enough to at least get a frame buffer display up, maybe get X up and working so you could install the NVIDIA proprietary drivers. Well, I'm always impressed by that. But that guy, he said, I've had enough of this. I'm out. I'm leaving. Well, they're kind of coming in. Red Hat's going to pick it back up. I'm like, we're going to make this a real project. And we'll see. It's Rust. I talked about this again on Saturday. I'm like, that interesting choice, but hey, it's memory safe. Maybe it's going to work out. Not a lot to do with it right now, but we'll be able to leverage, the work that's being done with the graphics driver itself. This is just the kernel bits, but the graphics driver is Collabora's working with NVK, which is going to leverage Zinc for OpenGL. Interesting times ahead. Times ahead. I mean, we're not too far off from possibly just being able to plug an NVIDIA card in and have it work. At least as much as you could say for like an AMD card or an Intel card. You're still going to have to get your hands dirty if you want to start playing around with a compute. But then again, like, that's going to happen. If you just want to play games, maybe this time next year, like, click a card in, it just starts working. That'll be great for new Linux users. Really happy to see that. Where do you ever install themes, Jill?
Oh, yeah, all the time, but you got to be careful in KDE right now.
I don't think I've ever installed a thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I do on every desktop.
No, I don't think I have. I thought about it this morning, and I'm like, does XFC, okay, that's always a good sign. I'm like, does XFC have themes? I'm like, oh yeah, people make themes for XFC. I'm like, why? Perfect as it is. Well, KDE had a little bit of a problem. In fact, there's a little bit of a warning up right now on their Mastodon account to read out global themes and widgets created by third-party developers for Plasma can and will run arbitrary code. You're encouraged to exercise extreme caution when using these products. As a user had a bad experience, and by bad experience, I mean don't undersell it. It wiped all of his drives. That could be a little problem, right? You go to install the theme and it deleted all of the user-mounted drive data. It executed the good old classic RMRF.
Wow.
No questions asked, just poof, gone. And that's a bit of a danger. That's a bit of a danger.
Serious,
and, KDE is like, yo, if you didn't know somebody could do this, they can. Warning, which I didn't know. I don't keep track of what is, and this is the KDE global theme, so it's allowed to do a lot more stuff, apparently, from what I was able to read from it. So KDE's thinking about putting up a warning to let you know. And maybe like scrutinizing it, because I don't even know if I had installed a theme and I lost drive data, if I would ever correlate those two.
Yeah, correlate. Yeah, I wouldn't either.
What else happened? I don't know how long it would take for me to get back to like, that's what caused it. I've never had anything like that. I've had something, I think there was some retro like CDE generational thing somebody was working on. I'm like, oh, here, let me try that. And I installed it and it messed with all my dot files in my home directory for my displays. That made me angry enough. So I can't imagine like just losing data, because that would be real inconvenient for like the 30 minutes it would take me to restore from a backup, because I'm sure this user had a backup, right?
Yeah, let's hope at least 2 other backups. I always want to make 3.
Man, yeah, like themes never like really caught on. I'm glad KDE's acknowledging this. I would argue that shouldn't be possible. Maybe I don't know enough. I'm not informed enough. So if you know more about this, leave me a comment under the video on YouTube. Let me know what's the best way to get this fixed, I'm never going to be running KDE any more than I am GNOME. Oh, is this like a legitimate? Should we be scared of this? Has this happened in the past? Is this something we need to worry about, or is this just one random bad actor causing a mild inconvenience? And if you didn't have a backup, that could be that could be rough.
That would be scary.
Yeah, I'm just curious about it because I haven't seen anybody like really panicking about it. I'm like, okay, so maybe this isn't like a big deal. What do you
I
think?
guess a lot of people haven't installed that theme. I guess. And but KDE's response on Mastodon, they stated, "We are calling on the community to help us locate and quarantine defective software by using the report buttons available on each item in the KDE store." And Nate Graham states, "This particular theme has been removed. Too dangerous to live. We're discussing a path forward to make sure this kind of thing can't happen again." And, the KDE knew quickly that they had to put measures in place to start auditing and curating the themes and widgets that are uploaded to the KDE store. So good job, KDE, for doing it so quickly. They saw one issue that they haven't had that I've known. Oh gosh, been using KDE since what, over almost 30 years on Linux, and I've never heard of this before. So this was obviously a new thing.
It's the price you pay for beauty
Yeah.
and
Oh, it's
whooshy,
beautiful.
nonsensical stuff on your desktop.
Aw. KDE's a nice desktop. I enjoy using it on my Steam Deck.
I was downhill after 1.3. Somebody's gonna fight me on that. I'm like, yeah, I was using KDE
No,
back in
that was
1.3
what
days.
that
Get off my lawn.
that was a thing.
Thought we'd give that a mention. Now, up next is
Yeah,
something we
else.
keep on talking about. This isn't the first time by any stretch of the imagination.
Absolutely, Ben. So malicious crypto wallet apps have been an issue on the Snap Store for quite some time. And in February, Ven and I even talked about $490,000 worth of crypto that was stolen from someone because of one of these, bad actors. And in the past few weeks, the number of bad crypto wallet apps on the Snap Store has increased, and the Snap Store team has been monitoring new snaps that are being registered. So for increased security against these malicious actors, Canonical has imposed more strict regulations when registering a new Snap name. And now manual review is required using the following procedures. First, you have to go to the website listed in the article in our show notes to register the Snap name before you push it to the store. And then when you enter all the info, the Snap will be submitted for review. And then the engineering team will then evaluate the data and see if anything looks suspicious. And Canonical states, if the name request passes checks, the name will be granted for the Snap store. If the name request is suspected as being malicious or is crypto wallet related, the name request will be rejected. In both cases, you will receive a notification. And also, the Snap Store team will be publishing guidelines for how to publish these sensitive snaps. They said by next week. So this is a good thing. Oh, this has just been an ongoing problem, and it's gotten worse.
This, we've talked about it before. This has happened again. This has happened again. And, I don't know why. I thought I was having a senior moment because they made that post and they're just like, we've had like a bunch of meetings and stuff like that. I'm like, why are you having meetings? This does not require meetings. This did not require meetings 5 months ago when it was initially a problem and it was brought up. I know Popey's been harping on this and everybody else on the outside going, yes, like, why, what are you doing here? This required, and like, why are you having meetings? And then I go back to read. Like, why did you change the wording of that in your edit? The number, we've been having lengthy discussions on, and they got rid of that. I'm like, yeah, okay. That blows my mind. That blows my mind. All this does, like 5 months ago, required, all it did, switch to a manual review process. This is the Snap Store. This is not Steam. All right. I don't know how, that's a 1-person, 2-person job right there. That's what should have been done 5 months ago when this problem arose. And I'm baffled that nobody at Canonical is empowered to be able to execute on a very simple problem like this. And they weren't able to do it 5 months ago when this started showing up. Like 5 months to come back to like, maybe we need to do a manual, or maybe you should. Maybe you should, because like from the outside, the perspective here, the lens, the optics of this comes across as not really caring much about your Snap store. That's the only takeaway I can have. Like, I wouldn't trust getting something on Snap. I just wouldn't. You took 5 months to get this fixed. How else do you look at that? Where's your positive spin on that? Like, well, we thought about it, and well, we're going to like still try to automate it a little bit, but we might take a look at it. I'm like, And you know what? Snap needs all the good PR it can get, and this ain't it. Like somebody should have been at Canonical that could have just said, we need to fix this. Here's how you fix it. Obvious fix is obvious. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, Joe Bryant.
Yeah, I think they're just going to have to keep doing manual review.
They should have been doing it 5 months ago when it was the first problem.
Yeah.
Like, where was the breakdown? Again, there might be things I don't understand. I freely admit that. But from the outside, like, yeah, you do a manual review until you get something really well in place to take care of this issue. And, it's not just crypto stuff. Like, they had issues, and I don't know if they still have issues. I don't follow the Snap Store. Let me know. With, non-official, official apps. Clients for stuff that were saying, hey, this is like, I'm using a made-up example, but, a Spotify app. Like, not from Spotify. Like, that should be like, we did bring that up because I said anything that takes your credentials or logins should have a big red blinking sign on top of it saying not from. And in fact, they should, I don't know. I'm trying to love Snap's Canonical or at least tolerate them. But stuff like this does not instill confidence. When there's a 5-month turnaround on like a very, what seems to be an obvious solution. Oh, yeah. Maybe get it fixed.
Yeah, the technology is awesome. It just needs review. It needs review. They got to be careful with that.
The Snap detractors don't need extra ammunition, and you're just handing it to them.
Yeah.
We're like, yeah, well, hey, we'll get around to fix it. Well, let's go have some more meetings. Like, why don't you fix meetings? Anybody who's been stuck in, an institution like that, you're like, no, the solution's not meetings. The solution is having somebody capable of like getting stuff fixed without having 5 months of meetings to arrive at the obvious solution. I think Popey pointed out, which is a very obvious one. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? Something that is not quite as snappy is CPU cooling. And that's something I've always been at odds with, especially since I put together this little studio, because you got to keep things cool, but you got to keep things quiet. You got to have big turbo fans. Before that, I didn't care. The louder, the better. If I had to wear earplugs, not that big a problem. But I wanted to try something a little more quiet. Obvious solution: AIOs, right? Water cooling. Not that big a deal. Yeah. I don't like having to check the PCs once a week.
Yes.
Because I do. Most of you are like, Vin, you're being crazy. And like, water always wins, kids. Every AIO, every water cooling system, if you built enough of them, they all eventually leak. It's just time. There's no if to it. And in Jackbox, which is their audio box, had a great little 120 AIO that's set right over a very expensive audio converter in the bottom of the PC, and that just bugged me.
Yeah,
bugged me
scary.
Every minute of my existence. I'm like, and I know, you're like, but propylene glycol, it's not terrible. I'm like, you don't know, man. After the metal sits around in there, it gets electrically conductive. What was the solution? Did we go back to air cooling? Well, then we're back at step one, aren't we? All right.
Then found a really great solution that we used to do back in the day in the 90s.
There was a company, and they had a habit of painting everything brown. You know who I'm talking about, right? Noctua. That's right. They got the owl on them. Well, they made this thing called the NHP one. And it came out about 2 years ago. And you might have saw it. Why you might have saw it is because Squeaky Linus, and
Yes.
Tech Jesus both did a video on it, which even at the time, I'm like, why are you wasting my time with this? Why? Because both of them put it on CPUs they knew it couldn't handle. Like there's a big Noctua did all this work of creating a page with all the compatibility stuff that you would need and would not need. Now I'm going to give Gamers Nexus a little bit of credit because they at least tested it with a 3600 after they got done with the clickbait stuff. You know, I'm like, hey, look how quickly it overheats when it's running a 100 and whatever TDP what CPU. I'm like, of course it did. I didn't have a whole lot of faith in it, you know, and I kind of didn't blame the YouTubers got to do the YouTube things for the clicks. I wanted to get some real data for this thing for the rest of us. Oh, that's what I set out to do. And I'm like, okay, let's try this with the 5600G, which was already in Jackbox, which is a 65 watt TDP. I got a big chunky case already. So recommended case, and you're going to need a big case for this thing. It is massive. I stuck all that together, and I didn't expect much. I'm like, you know what? This thing's probably going to work pretty well as a digital audio workstation, but that's no fun. I put an entire video together. There it is, to give you an idea of the size. That's a Threadripper cooler on the right side there, which is a big, chunky, massive, perspective. Let me back that up. Yeah. That fan, that's a 140 millimeter fan, not a 120 millimeter fan. Pretty big. Also, it came with a screwdriver with a Torx bit on the end.
Nice.
Horrible.
You have to have that one special screwdriver.
That's where you have to keep it.
Yeah.
That's where you have to keep it unless you have a special drawer in your house with the one-time use things that you got to keep track of for that one product. Because you know what? In 5 years from now, you might want to upgrade your CPU. If you don't have that drive, you're either going to be going out and trying to find one of that length with that bit, or you're just out of luck. I hate stuff like that.
I know.
But it makes it more secure to tighten the things. And I'm like, guys, because I was excited. I'm like, oh, cool. Knocked to a brown screwdriver. I'm like, oh, it's useless. Great. And that thing is now in my drawer of like one-time use things. And it did fit in the video. I stick it in. You get an idea of, for your audio listeners, it's big enough to where it covers up the RAM. All right?
That's huge.
Like there's RAM under that, like way under that. But it is there. I did a bit of torture testing because I didn't want them to have all the fun. So I decided to compile kernel 6.8, maxing out all 12 threads, fast as they go, 4 gigahertz, flat out. I was like, let's see how long this thing's going to take to throttle. I'm like, I expected, maybe like 3 or 4 minutes. It never throttled. It never throttled. This thing was the entirety of it was 16-minute run.
Nice.
80. And the throttle, I think it's a 93 or 95 on the 6500. Like it was fun. And running it as a DAW basically ran the same as the AIO and the little shot there. Oh, I was really impressed with it. I had a good time.
Yay, Ben.
No moving parts. Now, I do have a marketing idea for Noctua. They should really market this for audiophiles. They should put some capacitors on it and a tube and tell them that it improves sonic fidelity with megahertz magic, whatever.
It looks a little bit like a square Dalek.
They can do it. And, hey, man, like we've seen like the NVMe drives, like they, this is how you fool an idiot. You just solder on some big capacitors on something. They go, oh, that's audio stuff right there, man. I know what I'm talking. These big, look at those big old capacitors. I'll pay more for it because they're fools. Yeah, that was my little joke for that. But yeah, everything else was relatively straightforward. Had a good time with it, and all the benchmarks and charts. So if you've been thinking about picking one up, it's not cheap. Not cheap. I think it's $100 for a big block of, a little copper block with a huge block of aluminum.
Yeah.
And, it doesn't really have fins. It has plates, and it does get hot. It uses the magic of just convection to like suck, because you can hold your, you can feel air
feel the
moving at the
air.
top of the K. You're like, ooh, okay, all right, I get it. Which, you know, if I had some more time, I genuinely think you, if you tested this in an open air bench, you would get worse results than if you did actually in a case. So you definitely want this in a case, not just like sitting out. I'd have
Yeah,
to
that
put
makes
that
sense.
for the test. Installation is really straightforward with a socket AM4. You can use your existing backplate. Don't do what I did in the video, which was like, because you know the backplates on the AM4, they're usually pretty sticky.
Mm.
You can kind of rely on them to like hold. That one wasn't feeling the sticky when I pulled off the screws, so it just like
Oh,
fell to the bottom. I'm like, and I had to take the back plate off, not the back plate, but the back of the case off. I'm like, I can get away with this super easy, which I did not. And of course, you can always put a fan on it, but yeah, if you're looking to build a very large home theater PC,
yeah.
large, there's a there's an entire like multi. It'll tell you what RAM clearance, CPUs, what cases. You got to do a little bit of research, but there's no moving parts and it's completely silent. Probably wouldn't work that well for a gaming PC, but for digital audio workstation, if you get a 60, basically,
Great.
if you get a 65-watt TDP CPU and a reasonable ambient temperature, you know, it's usually in the studio, it's about 18C. I don't know what that is in freedom units. Like, whatever. I'm not going to look it up. Which is not hot. You know, if it's hot, it's going to struggle and you might want to get a fan with it. But yeah, there you go. Not really necessarily Linux related, but we did build a kernel on it.
Yeah, that's cool, Van. I don't know if me and you had talked about not too long ago. I used to make my own heat sinks for my Pentium Pros back in the day, back in the 90s. And I remember you mentioned that you had done that too.
I
So this
milled
is
water blocks.
oh, okay. So this is kind of that solution.
This is way more advanced than what we were doing way back in the day.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
go
those
back
were
and you
just
look at,
yeah.
just throwing a massive block, then you got to deal with metallurgy versus like why does it have a copper core with aluminum fins? Why is that, Joe?
Mm. Copper core. Well,
Copper
copper's
core
better.
with aluminum fins.
Yeah. Well, the fins dissipate, move the heat away.
Yeah, but why are the fins not copper?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting because I've only dealt with copper.
It's this is the reason you see
Is it
this a
the
lot.
heat? Heat?
It's definitely
Mm,
related.
okay.
Warning everybody, I'm going to teach you a little bit of science. So go ahead and hide the video, cut it off,
Okay.
mute
I
it,
want to hear.
just in case you're like, hey, I don't want to learn anything. This is, you look at a lot of coolers, you'll see like a copper slug in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be sandwiched around aluminum. Copper is really good at absorbing heat, at getting the initial load.
Yeah.
Aluminum's better at radiating it,
Dissipating.
dissipating.
Okay. Okay, that makes
That's why
sense.
you see that combination of so often. So there you go, science time. You accidentally learned something on the show.
There you go, Vin.
But
That
but
was nice.
that's why you'll see like copper water blocks are always copper, you know,
Yeah.
or nickel plated
Mhm.
aluminum and like whatever. Like I used to drill press back in the like they were hyper primitive plexiglass. They leaked. They were great times. Ladies and gentlemen, that is going to wrap it up for this week's show. I need to thank not one, not two. First, I just want to thank everybody. If you're in the audience right now, you know who you
Yeah.
are. You're our beautiful party patrons, making the show possible, keeping everything ad-free, no commercials. I mean, not unless you want to count Interfacing Linux commercial, but you guys got a sneak peek at that video a week before everybody else, because I'm good like that. You know, I appreciate some feedback. Head over there at patreon.com/Linux Gamecast if you want the highest quality version of the show, commercial free, available for download. You get the uncut version. Now, we do the show, it's about 30 minutes, but there's usually about an hour, hour and a half worth of content in there. It's basically the live stream cleaned up, made in MP3. And of course, access to our show notes, access to our Discord, all the other freebies. All of that is on linuxgamecast.com under the support tab. And if you want to be like one of the beautiful people like one Art there and send me horrible little nasty blue things,
Yeah.
that are very, very shouty, but also very informative. You know, trying to do the good thing here. You know, we're taking that knock to a cooler and actually testing it on the right thing. We're taking an art card and we're going to get some real information for everybody else. I know that's a weird concept in today where I should be covering this with mayonnaise and trying to install it upside down in a fishbowl for the clicks. Not going to do that. We're just going to get some real data for everybody to use. So I do appreciate that again, Arthur. And you're already on our fine upstanding cannibal wall. Yeah. So we got Jill's got a wish list. Want to pick up something? You can send it a note. I don't know where that note is. Go back and listen to Saturday's episode if you want to hear the dulcet poetic writing of one Arthuran who wrote in. But we got 2 new patrons this week.
Yeah, I do.
And I keep on messing this up because our latest executive producer is not 1, 2, 3, 4. Nay. No. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. That's awesome.
Has joined at the executive producer level, which probably like the big fringe benefit of that. If you really like Linux Gamecast, we give you a live video feed. So if you want to check out the pre-super shows and before everybody else, that's a production meeting. Everything gets discussed during that time. And of course, our latest member of the Chicago area, King Bonge.
King Bonge. I like that name.
Beautiful. Do appreciate it. Yeah, and thanks, man. Fun times. Yeah. We got a bunch of stuff planned, and I got a lot of stuff going on. Go check us out, linuxgamecast.com, interfacinglinux.com, and things they be in the works. All right. Is that good? Can we go? All right.
Yeah.
All right, sure. Let's do some credits.
We got our advisors, our wonderful advisors, Omegas and Arthuran, and now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We got our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is a new executive producer. Sorry about that. And we got Sea Monsters, Truggy, Veritanuda, Justin, Hakeem, our Death Notes, Rue, Turnover, Ogiwan, and Foxdog, Swine, Piper. Some of our chairlings are Martin W, Rohit. These all our beautiful patrons, they go by so quickly I can't read them all. But you all know who you are, and we love you all.
I don't know. Somebody's like, I don't know who I am. Jill didn't say who I was. I will forever be lost until next week.
Oh, yes.
All right, beautiful people. We'll see you,
love you all
next week. Bye-bye.
Yay. Yay. Thank you, Steve Husband. Yes. All the scale pictures. I could have put hundreds on there, but no, I just put some of the best highlights.
All right. I gotta check out the
yeah, Katana. Who are you?
Interesting. Oh, okay. It did work. It was just being slow about it. All right. I got to do some ninja editing for whatever reason. My magic recording button that I have on the Stream Deck, which is it triggers thanks to the magical power of Lua scripting. It goes out and triggers the recording on the DAW with Reaper, and then it comes back to this PC to trigger the recording on OBS. It triggered it on the DAW, didn't trigger it on OBS. Oh, I got like a minute or two of video footage I got to steal from our live stream and wiggle that back in.
Okay.
Which
Thank
is
God for backup. For recordings.
Yeah, thanks everybody for watching. I don't really have a lot going on. I got to finish writing all the bits. I got to tear this thing down again. Because I got to get that out-of-box experience, because it ships with a full-size bracket, which we couldn't figure out how to get off until we did. Yeah, you gotta have an identity crisis, man. Just be who you are, man. People are scared to be who they are. And you know what? I understand that it can be a little bit scary just to be yourself, but it's so much easier to keep track. You know, you don't have to put on a show for people. Like, yeah, admittedly, some people are just not going to like you, but that's cool. You know, you don't get different versions. You know, if you ever talk to somebody and you catch them like on stream versus off stream, two completely different people. I'm not a fan of that. I'm going to be cantankerous old man Vin. Day in and day out. There we go. And has anybody seen anything fun? Has the new Horizon game went on sale yet? It's been out for a couple of days.
Yeah, I haven't. I haven't even looked at the trailer for that. I need to.
I don't know anything about it. I did a serviceable job of avoiding watching any like real footage of the game or watching anybody stream it. Being busy work, it's not too bad. I won't get around to playing that, and we did on the after shows and on Saturday we broke out a bunch of these guys Steam controllers. Why? Because we were playing some co-op Quake 2 using our Steam controllers. Was that fun? Fun's a strong word. It was challenging, but it was kind of surprising towards the end of the stream because we all got used to it.
Yeah, using a first-person shooter with a controller is always...
Well, the Steam controller, it's a little even, like, weirder, you know?
Yeah.
Because you don't have that right thumbstick. You got that touchpad, kind of like your Steam Deck. And Rohit was playing with a Steam Deck, which, you know, is a little different, but... Yeah, we were kind of feeling it by the end. We're like, you know what? Like, what... You really do gotta spend that like first 30 minutes of reprogramming yourself. Like it's, we need a Steam controller too, is what we need. I'd like to see that. And Jill has played at least a little bit of Nier Automata.
Yeah, I've started. That's fun.
It's a pretty good game. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. I remember Venue talking about the camera changing and how that can be annoying. It's done very seamlessly, but it is a little annoying because there's times I'd like to be closer up instead of a top-down view. Or, you know, the side view,
right,
going upstairs and whatnot.
Yep.
So I would like to be able to get a little closer in those scenes.
Let's see.
But it is seamless. It is nicely done. The camera work, but a little annoying too.
That's throughout the game. I mean, that's a platinum, very much a platinum thing. You know, you at some point it is going to turn into a top-down bullet hell. Yeah,
see, I'm not good with that because it's hard for me to see the characters, but I just have to zoom in.
And you got to play the game 3 times to beat it.
Yeah, I remember you doing that. I just put it on standard play because, you know, there was easy, and I was thinking, well, maybe I should go back and make it easy.
Well, you know, it's not too long. And well, when I first heard somebody told me that you got to play through it 3 times to beat it, I'm like, I'm not playing through the game 3 times. You know, when I say that, you play as 3 different characters, though.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, the third one's like a big spoiler, but you know, the first one you play as 2B, then the second one you play as 9S, and you play the game through his perspective. And the third one, I'm not going to spoil.
Okay. I remember watching your streams, and at the end, the battles you had.
That's a beautiful game, great soundtrack. I own the soundtrack on vinyl, even though I don't have a record player.
Oh, that's nice. It is a beautiful soundtrack.
I just wanted to give them some money. I'm like, good characters,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think they'll make another Steam controller. Unfortunately, or they're in not with the not in the world with the Steam Deck, because I was just talking about like some of the engineering that went into the Steam controller. You know, because we pretty much, they're not really, if they're breaking even on the Steam Deck, they're doing good, right? You know, the point of the Steam Deck is to get it out there and recoup the money. You know, hey, guess where you're gonna buy games, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna be good on that. But even with the Steam controller, like the amount of like the quality of the Steam controller mixed with like the engineering that went inside of it, they probably weren't making anything at all, like margin wise, on the Steam controllers. The deck is Steam U. That's a sentence almost. Oh. Like, I was happy with it. It was a pleasant reminder of, because I just don't use the Steam controller. It sits on the desk.
Yeah, I just hadn't been using it in a while.
And used it
I know
years.
we all did when we were playing Rocket League. I
was
did
good.
like I do like the back pedals on it, but the controller is too big for my hands. But I did like those back pedals, really nice.
Yeah, that's a good feature to have.
Yeah.
Because if you want the back flippers, man, you got to buy like those PlayStation or Xbox Pro controllers.
Yeah.
And those things are like $200, man. You get it. Okay, no doubt. Like, I'll spend, dude, I wouldn't even spend $60 on a controller. I'll buy the bright red one because it was like $49.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah. Like, I had to hit the go button a couple of times because it had corroded, I think, just a little bit because it hadn't been pressed to be cut on. I had to tap it a couple of times before it cut on. I'm like, hey, there it goes. And it woke back
Yeah.
up. Which I'm not really concerned about. Like, I have one more. I got my backup, my new in box Steam controller, because they were $5. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll just
Oh
buy
yeah,
one.
I got a couple too. I ended up giving a couple people as gifts, but I just bought them just because they were so cheap.
It's $5. I didn't
Yeah,
need it.
and-
I don't
yeah.
buy stuff I don't. It's me, man. I don't buy stuff I don't need, dude. And even I was like, it's $5. Why not, right? It costs more to ship it than it did to buy it. I didn't buy two. I think the limit was two. Well, yeah, people are. I mean, again, they're well built and they'll be around for a long time. But yeah, I'd like somebody else to. I don't think they can, because they got the lawsuit with the patents. So who knows?
Yeah, that's
I've been
right.
waiting for a time where I can play that neat. What? Play games.
Oh, Alan uses the Steam controller for Trackmania, he said.
Mm.
And I do remember him saying that. Actually, that honestly would probably be a good fit
What's that?
with Trackmania. I would think sometimes using the little trackpad would be good in some areas, especially.
The only thing I don't
in-
like are the buttons are too close for like the analog and the button position are like right in the middle there.
Yeah.
It's the only reason I don't use it for Trackmania, because I have my acceleration are on my buttons for Trackmania. I don't use the triggers for acceleration. I use square and X so I can do a heel toe with my thumb.
Mhm.
Good times. All right.
Yeah, I'm still using my 8-bit do, which I love, the little baby. It's perfect. I love it. And I like that the prices have come way down. I can get one now for $20-$30.
Oh, that's
So
good.
I have like 4 of them now on different computers for practicing Trackmania.
I'll probably, maybe eventually one day, pick up that one Sandy got. He got the 6-button Saturn 8-bit do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you would benefit from that, Ben. Yeah, that's a pretty big size controller.
I just want to have some for fighting games,
Yeah.
like older games, and like that's it. I
to
don't
have
want to
that.
get an arcade stick again, and like my brain doesn't map to like regular controllers for fighting games. They have to be linear buttons, 3 or 4 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
In order for me to map the controls properly in my head.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who love that 8-bit too.
And I grew up with the 6-button Mega Drive controller, which is what it's based off of.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. All right, everybody, I'm going to end the stream because I got to wait for the stream to process a little bit. Then I got to steal it from the Twitch channel and hack it out. Let's, hang on 1 second. While I got you here, let me double check. Give me a little bit of a clap test real quick.
Okay.
Help me out with this sync. All right. That'll save some. You know what? I'm gonna get in on the game too. I'm gonna party a little bit. There we go. Cool, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. Jordan's gonna be back tomorrow. Probably getting to the end of Borderlands. Tiny Tina's Land of Wonder. Him and I think Gelada are going through that. So if you want to hop in on that hotness, you can just at .frojo. Get in, of course. Trackmania server is up and running. Get your practice on. Join us this Friday for our points match and open to the public after the Filthy Cup, the Friday Filthy Cup.
Yay.
We're exploring our RPG maps. Completely open. You don't have to be our friends on Twitch. You don't have to be our friends on Patreon. You don't have to want to talk to us. You can just, like somebody did. I left, the server stays up running all weekend with a RPG map on it. Somebody completed one of the RPG maps that was left in. It was like a 6-hour map.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, we're having a blast with that. If you don't know about that, it's like trying to get through like castles and stuff like that in a car.
That's so cool.
Carcore.
Carcore. I remember we had done it like over a year ago. You remember we had done some RPG maps?
We tried some in Trackmania 2020.
Yeah, 2020. But this is for Stadium
Trackmania
Squared?
2.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
I went through the, the process ended up with me in a Norwegian-only speaking Discord server, tracking down a guy to get a file off of his Microsoft OneDrive in order to make this work.
That's what you posted something.
Yeah, that's what I was like. I finally got the one thing we needed to set up the server, which was not available on the internet to be downloaded anywhere. I got it. I posted it on archive.org for everybody.
Nice.
And I also have it on VinCDN for our little Trackmania club if you want to get in on that. But you can download it for free. It might just take you a bit because it's like 2 gigs. No. Cool, everybody. Bye-bye.
Hey, everyone.